Weeks turned into months. The moon completed its orbit around the gas giant twice, and Elena stopped counting the days. Time moved differently now. It was measured in meals shared, lessons taught, and small victories won against the wilderness. She rebuilt what she could. Using parts from both crashed ships, she created a better water system. She built a small greenhouse using clear panels from her escape pod. She planted seeds from edible plants she had discovered in the forest. The children watched her work with fascination, and soon they began helping. Casa, the silent girl who drew pictures, turned out to be brilliant at organizing. She could look at a pile of spare parts and know exactly what could be built from them. Tan, despite his fears, had steady hands and learned to repair electrical systems. The twins, Vela and Varro, became scouts, learning the forest paths and warning Elena about any dangers. Every child had something to give. Elena made sure they knew this. She gave them jobs and praised them when they did well. She taught them skills from Earth. How to make fire without matches. How to find clean water. How to read the weather by looking at clouds. In return, they taught her about the Voeth. Their songs, which used sounds humans could barely hear. Their games, which involved incredible jumping and climbing. Their language, which was beautiful and complex and made Elena's tongue hurt when she tried to speak it. She also learned about imprinting. Mirren explained it one evening while they watched the smaller children play. Velith Young did not simply love their parents. They bonded with them on a deep, almost spiritual level. Their minds connected, their emotions linked. An imprinted child would always feel their caregiver's presence, even across great distances. We imprinted on our parents before they left, Mirren said. We still feel them sometimes, echoes, memories. It is how we knew they died. Alana's heart broke for the 100th time. I am sorry. Do not be sorry. They loved us. They left to protect us. We know this. Mirren paused. The problem is the little ones. Prill and the others who were too young when our parents left. They never imprinted properly. They have been empty, searching for something to hold on to. Elena thought about this. She thought about how Prill followed her everywhere now. How he crawled into her lap during meals. How he called her name when he woke from nightmares. They are imprinting on me, she realized. Mirren nodded. Yes, I tried to stop it at first. You are not Velith. You are alien and strange and terrifying. But I could not stop it. You saved us. You stayed. You act like a parent in every way that matters. Their hearts reached out and found you. Elena did not know what to say. She was not their mother. She was a soldier who had crashed in the wrong place at the wrong time. She had no training for this. No qualification. Nothing but a stubborn refusal to let these children die. I cannot be what they need, she said. You already are, Mirren replied. The next morning, Prill climbed into Elena's lap before breakfast. He looked up at her with those huge silver eyes and said very clearly, Good morning, Mother Commander. Elena froze. Her throat tightened. She wanted to correct him, to explain that she was not his mother, that she could never replace what he had lost. But she looked at his face, so hopeful, so trusting, so desperate for someone to belong to. Good morning, little one, she said instead. Prill smiled so wide his whiskers trembled. He pressed his small face against her chest and purred. The other children watched. Some of them began using the same name, Mother Commander. It spread through the nursery like fire. Mirren found Elena that evening, sitting alone on a rock outside the ship, staring at the stars. You did not correct them, Mirren said. No. Why? Elena sighed. Because they need it. They need someone to be their family. I cannot give them their real parents back. But maybe I can give them me. Mirren sat beside her. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Then Mirren said something that changed everything. You are trying to make the human purring sound again. Elena blinked. What? When you comfort the little ones, you make a sound in your throat. Humans cannot purr, but you try anyway. I hear you practicing at night when you think everyone is asleep. Elena's face grew hot. She had not realized anyone noticed. She had been trying to mimic the Velith comfort sound for weeks. Her human throat could not do it properly. The sound came out wrong, more like a low hum than a purr. But she kept trying because the children seemed to like it. It sounds terrible, Elena admitted. I'm sorry. Do not be sorry, Mirren said softly. It is the most beautiful sound I have ever heard. But it is not right. It is not a real purr. Mirren shook her head. It is better than a real purr. It is a human trying to love like a Velith. It is you becoming something new. Something that never existed before. A mother made of two worlds. Elena felt the tears coming. She did not stop them this time. I cannot replace what you lost, she whispered. You are not replacing, Mirren said, moving closer. You are adding. We can love the parents we lost and the frightening human who found us. Hearts are not small, Mother Commander. Hearts grow. That night, Elena returned to the nursery. 43 children were waiting for her. Some were already asleep. Others watched her with glowing eyes. Prill ran to her and wrapped his tiny arms around her leg. Tell us about Earth again, he begged. Tell us about the big water and the green plants and the scary animals you fight. Elena smiled her closed-mouth smile. She sat down in the middle of the room and pulled Prill into her lap. Other children gathered around her. Even Mirren sat close, pretending not to be interested. All right, Elena said. Let me tell you about a place called the ocean. It is water so big you cannot see the other side. And in this water live creatures with more teeth than your worst nightmares. The children gasped and giggled and pressed closer. Elena felt their warmth around her. She felt their trust. She felt their love, and for the first time since the crash, she stopped thinking of rescue as an escape. She started thinking of it as a way to bring her children home. All 43 of them, her family. The ship was dying. Commander Elena Vasquez knew this the moment the alarms started screaming. Red lights flashed everywhere. Smoke filled the bridge. The HFY Prometheus, her home for 3 years, was breaking apart around her. She pulled herself into the emergency pod just as the main hull cracked open. Through the tiny window, she watched her crew float away into the cold darkness of space. 12 people. 12 friends. Gone in seconds. She wanted to scream, but there was no time. The pod was falling, pulled down by the gravity of a moon she had never seen before. The crash was violent. Elena hit her head against the metal wall. Blood ran down her face. When she opened her eyes, everything was sideways. The pod had landed in some kind of forest, but it was not like any forest on Earth. The trees glowed. Soft blue and purple light came from their bark. Strange spires of crystal grew from the ground, humming with a sound she could feel in her bones. Elena kicked open the pod door and fell onto soft ground. Her left leg was hurt. Maybe broken. She did not know. She only knew she had to move. Staying near the wreckage was dangerous. Fires could spread. Fuel could explode. She had to find shelter. She crawled through the glowing forest for what felt like hours. The air was breathable, but tasted strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. Small creatures watched her from the shadows. They had too many eyes and not enough legs. None of them attacked. Perhaps they had never seen something like her before. As the strange sun began to set, Elena found the other ship. It was old. Very old. The metal was rusted and covered in moss that glowed green. The design was nothing she recognized. This was not human. This was alien. And it had crashed here long before she did. Elena almost walked past it. She was tired and hurt and ready to give up. But then she heard the sound, a whimper, small and scared, like a child crying. She stopped, listened. The sound came again, from somewhere inside the crashed ship. Against all logic, against every survival instinct telling her to run, Elena limped toward the wreckage. The door was already open. Someone had forced it long ago. She squeezed through the gap and found herself in a dark corridor. The whimpering was louder now. More than one voice. Several small, frightened voices. Elena followed the sound until she reached a large room. Emergency lights flickered on the ceiling, barely working. And in that dim light she saw them. Children. At least, they looked like children. They had faces like cats, with big pointed ears and whiskers and fur in colors of silver and gold and brown. Their eyes were huge, taking up half their faces, and they glowed in the darkness. They were huddled together in a corner, shaking with fear. Elena counted quickly. Over 40 of them. The smallest was no bigger than a human toddler. The oldest looked maybe 12 or 13, if human years meant anything. One of the older ones stepped forward. She had silver-tipped ears and amber eyes that reflected what little light there was. She was thin. Too thin. They were all too thin. "You," the cat child said in broken words Elena almost understood, "are not Velith." Elena shook her head slowly. "No, I am human." The children gasped and pulled back. The word meant nothing to them, but Elena's appearance said enough. She was tall. Her eyes faced forward like a hunter's eyes. Her teeth, when she spoke, showed points meant for tearing meat. Everything about her screamed predator. But the silver-eared girl did not run. She tilted her head and studied Elena with a strange calm. "I am Mirren," she said. "This is the nursery. Our parents left us here. The machine that fed us stopped working. The adults never came back." Elena felt her heart squeeze. "How long?" Mirren's ears flattened. 6 cycles of the big moon. I do not know how to say it in your words. 6 years. These children had been alone for 6 years. Elena looked around the room. She saw empty food containers. She saw water collectors made from spare parts. She saw small beds made from torn fabric. These children had survived on their own, taking care of each other, waiting for parents who would never return. Why did they leave? Elena asked. "War," Mirren said simply. "The adults went to fight. They said they would come back. They did not." The smallest child, a tiny thing with fur the color of milk, peeked out from behind an older sibling. His eyes were even bigger than the others, round with terror as he stared at Elena. "Is it going to eat us?" He whispered. "No prill," Mirren said. "I do not think so." She looked at Elena again. "You smell like fire and fear, but your heartbeat is steady. I can hear it. Predators with steady hearts are either very dangerous or very safe." Elena realized the child could hear her pulse, could probably smell her sweat and blood and exhaustion, could read her body in ways humans never could. "Which do you think I am?" Elena asked. Mirren's whiskers twitched. For a long moment, she said nothing. The other children watched, barely breathing. Everything depended on what this one brave girl decided. "I think you are both," Mirren finally said. "Dangerous and safe. I think you could kill all of us easily. But I do not think you will." "Why not?" "Because you are hurt and tired, and you could have walked away. But you heard us crying, and you came inside. Monsters do not do that." Elena felt tears sting her eyes. She blinked them away. She was a soldier. She did not cry. But these children, these abandoned little souls who had survived hell and still had hope, they broke something inside her. "I am not a monster," she said. "I am just lost." "Like you." Mirren nodded slowly. Then she did something that shocked everyone in the room, including Elena. She walked forward and took Elena's hand. "Then we will be lost together," Mirren said. "Stay, please. The little ones are scared and hungry, and I cannot protect them alone anymore." Elena looked at the 43 pairs of glowing eyes staring at her. She looked at the tiny child named Pro, still hiding, still trembling. She looked at Mirren, so young but so tired, carrying a weight no child should ever carry. She thought about her crashed pod, her dead crew, her broken leg, and the impossible situation she was in. Then she sat down on the cold floor of the nursery and said the only word that mattered. "Okay." Mirren's ears perked up. The other children leaned forward. "Okay?" Mirren repeated. "Okay," Elena said again. "I will stay. I will help. But first, someone needs to show me where you keep the medical supplies. Because I'm about to pass out, and I would rather do it somewhere soft." For the first time in what was probably years, Mirren smiled, and somewhere deep in Elena's soldier heart, a new mission began. Elena woke up 3 days later. Her leg was wrapped in strange bandages that smelled like herbs. Her wounds had been cleaned. Small hands had taken care of her while she slept. When she opened her eyes, she found Pro sitting next to her head, watching her with those enormous moon-like eyes. "You breathe very loud," he said. "I was worried you stopped." Elena tried to smile without showing her teeth. She had learned quickly that smiling the human way scared the children. They saw fangs. They saw danger. So she smiled with her eyes instead and kept her mouth closed. "Still breathing," she said. "Thank you for watching over me." Prill's ears went pink. She did not know if that meant he was embarrassed or happy. Probably both. The next few weeks were hard. Elena's leg healed slowly. She had to learn everything about the nursery, the ship, and the children. She learned their names one by one. There was Mirren, the leader. Prill, the smallest. Kessa, who never spoke but drew pictures on the walls. Tan, who thought he was brave but cried in his sleep. Vela and Varo, twins who finished each other's sentences. And 37 more, each one different, each one precious. She learned about the Veleth, their species. They were not fighters. They were builders and thinkers and singers. Their home world was far away, across a galaxy torn by a war she did not understand. The children knew very little about the war. Their parents had protected them from the truth. All they knew was that the adults left and never returned. The nursery ship had been hidden on this moon for safety. An artificial intelligence was supposed to care for the children until the war ended. But the AI broke down after 2 years. Since then, Mirren and the older children had done everything themselves. Elena was amazed they had survived. But she was also angry. Angry at the universe for putting this burden on children. Angry at the war that took their parents. Angry at herself for not being able to do more. She did what she could. She fixed the water recycling system. She rationed the remaining food more carefully. She explored the forest around the ship, learning which plants were safe and which were poison. The children watched her work with wonder. They had never seen someone move like her, think like her, solve problems like her. "Humans are strange," Mirren said one evening. "You never stop." Elena laughed. "We cannot stop. On our world, everything wanted to eat us. We survived by being stubborn. What is stubborn? It means we refuse to give up, even when it is stupid, even when it hurts. We just keep going." Mirren thought about this for a long time. Then she nodded. "I like stubborn." The first real test came on the 23rd night. Elena was teaching some of the older children how to set traps for small animals. When she heard the screaming, she ran back to the ship faster than she thought possible with her bad leg. By the time she arrived, Chaos had erupted. Creatures had found them. Eyeless things with too many legs and mouths full of needle teeth. They were the size of large dogs, and there were dozens of them. They had smelled the children. They wanted meat. The children were trapped inside the main room. Mirren was at the door, holding a metal bar, trying to keep the creatures out. But she was too small, too weak. The creatures pushed against her, snapping and clawing. Elena did not think. She did not plan. She simply acted. She grabbed a broken piece of hull from the ground, a jagged metal strut as long as her arm, and she charged. The first creature died before it knew she was there. She swung the metal like a club and broke its skull. The second turned to face her, and she kicked it so hard it flew backward into 3 others. The third bit her arm, and she did not stop. She grabbed it by the throat and threw it away. The creatures realized they were not dealing with prey. They were dealing with something else. Something terrifying. But they were hungry. And there were many of them. The fight lasted 9 hours. Elena did not count. She could not count. Time became meaningless. There was only the next swing, the next kick, the next creature trying to reach the children behind her. She stood in the doorway and became a wall. Nothing got past her. Nothing. She was bitten 17 times. Her left arm stopped working after hour 4. Her vision blurred from blood loss after hour 6. But she did not move. She could not move. Those children were hers now. Hers to protect. Hers to save. When the sun finally rose, the creatures retreated. They had lost too many. They had learned the lesson that every predator on Earth had learned millions of years ago. Humans do not stop. Humans do not surrender. Humans will fight and bleed and die before they let anything hurt what they love. Elena collapsed in the doorway. She could not feel her body anymore. The world was going dark. But before she lost consciousness, she saw the children standing over her. 43 small faces filled with awe and fear and something else. Love. When she woke again, Mirren was cleaning her wounds. The girl's paws were gentle but shaking. "You should be dead," Mirren said. "You fought for 9 hours. No creature fights for 9 hours. Humans do," Elena whispered. "Why? You could have run. You could have hidden. Why did you stay?" Elena forced her eyes open. She looked at Mirren, at the tears running down the girl's furry face, at the other children gathered around watching. "Because you needed me to," she said. Mirren made a sound Elena had never heard before, a kind of sob mixed with a purr. She pressed her forehead against Elena's shoulder. "Frightening human," Mirren whispered. "I adore your face. Promise you will not leave us. Promise you will stay." Elena lifted her one working hand and placed it on Mirren's head, between those silver-tipped ears. "I promise," she said. She meant it. With every broken bone and bleeding wound and exhausted breath, she meant it. She was not just a survivor anymore. She was not just a soldier. She was their protector, their guardian, their mother Commander . And nothing in this universe would take her from them. From that night on, the creatures never returned. Word spread through the forest in whatever way animals communicated. The nursery was protected. The strange two-legged predator would kill anything that came close. The children began to sleep peacefully for the first time in years. And Elena, despite everything, began to heal. 8 months after the crash, the distress beacon finally worked. Elena had built it from pieces of both ships. It took her weeks of trial and error, countless failures, and 3 electrical shocks that nearly killed her. But she refused to stop. Her children needed a future. A real future with medicine and education and safety. This moon could not give them that. The beacon sent its signal into the darkness of space. Elena did not know if anyone would hear it. She did not know if the Velith still existed. The war might have destroyed them all. But she had to try. The response came faster than she expected. One morning, the children were playing in the clearing when Mirren's ears suddenly stood straight up. Her eyes went wide. "Ships," she whispered. "I hear ships coming." Elena ran outside and looked at the sky. 3 vessels were descending through the clouds. They were beautiful machines, curved and elegant, nothing like the angular human designs she knew. Velith ships. Military, by the look of their weapons, thought the children gathered behind Elena. The little ones grabbed her legs. The older ones stood ready to fight, holding whatever tools they could find. They did not know if these ships brought friends or enemies. The lead vessel landed in the clearing. Its door opened, and soldiers poured out. They were Velith, but unlike the children. These were adults, tall and powerful, their fur groomed and their armor gleaming. They carried weapons Elena did not recognize but could guess the purpose of. At their head walked an older Velith with gray around his muzzle and medals on his chest. An admiral, Elena guessed. A leader. His eyes scanned the clearing until they found her. He froze. Elena understood why. She was a nightmare to them. Tall and strange, with predator eyes and exposed teeth and skin instead of fur. She had blood stains on her clothes from the morning's hunt. A knife hung from her belt. Everything about her screamed danger. "What is this creature?" The admiral demanded. "I am Commander Elena Vasquez of the Earth Coalition," she said, keeping her voice calm. "I crashed here 8 months ago. I have been caring for these children ever since." The admiral's eyes narrowed. "Earth Coalition? I have never heard of such a thing. My species comes from beyond your explored space. We call ourselves humans." The soldiers raised their weapons. The admiral stepped forward, his hand resting on his own gun. "You will step away from the kids," he commanded. Slowly, now. Elena did not move. The admiral's fur bristled. "You do not understand your situation, creature. You are outnumbered. You are outgunned. You are surrounded by warriors who have fought across 100 systems. Step away from the children or die." Elena looked at the weapons pointed at her. She looked at the soldiers, tense and ready to fire. She looked at the admiral, radiating authority and threat. Then she looked back at her children. Prill was shaking. Cassa was crying silently. Even brave Ton looked terrified. "No," Elena said. The admiral blinked. "What did you say?" "I said no. I will not step away from my children. They are not your children. They are Velith. You are. I do not even know what you are." Elena took a breath. Her heart was steady. Her voice was calm. She had faced death before. She would face it again. "Let me explain something to you," she said. "These children have been alone for 6 years. 6 years without parents, without adults, without anyone to protect them. I found them starving and scared and forgotten by the universe. I stayed. I fed them. I taught them. I fought for them. I bled for them. I love them." She stepped forward, and the soldiers tensed. "You are right that I am a predator. Everything about my species is designed to hunt and kill. But we are also designed to protect. When a human chooses a family, that family becomes sacred. We will die for them. We will kill for them. We will fight against impossible odds and never surrender." She pointed at the children behind. "Her. They are my family. Mine. And you will not take them from me without going through me first." The admiral stared at her. The clearing was silent except for the hum of ship engines. "You think you can fight all of us?" he asked. "I think I will try," Elena said. "I think I will take several of you with me before I fall." "Is that a price you are willing to pay?" The standoff stretched on. Soldiers looked at each other nervously. This was not what they expected. They came to rescue children, not fight an alien monster who spoke of love and family. Then Mirren stepped forward. She walked between Elena and the soldiers, tail held high, head raised with dignity. She was thin and young and unarmed, but she moved like a queen. "Admiral," she said, "do you know who we are?" The Admiral frowned. "You are survivors from Nursery Station 7. We have been searching for you since the war ended. Then, you know our parents died protecting your worlds. You know we are the children of heroes." "Yes, that is why we came." Mirren nodded. "Good. Then listen carefully. This human, this frightening creature you want to kill, is our mother commander. She saved us when the galaxy forgot we existed. She fought monsters for 9 hours without stopping. She learned our songs and our games and our language. She stayed when no one else came." She gestured to the children behind her. One by one, they walked forward and stood with Elena, 43 kids, forming a wall of small bodies between the soldiers and their human. "If you harm her," Mirren said, "you harm us. And you will have to explain to every Velith parent who lost a child in the war why you murdered the only being in the universe who cared enough to stay when we needed someone most." The Admiral looked at the children. He looked at their thin bodies and fierce eyes and protective stance. He looked at how they pressed against Elena, how the smallest ones held onto her legs, how even the oldest stood ready to fight for her. He looked at Elena herself, the scars on her arms, the exhaustion in her eyes, the absolute calm in her voice when she declared she would die before abandoning them. Slowly, the Admiral lowered his weapon. "Stand down," he ordered his soldiers. The soldiers hesitated, then obeyed. The Admiral approached Elena carefully. He stopped a few feet away and studied her with new eyes. "You are truly willing to die for these children," he said. "Children who are not your species. Children who are strangers to your kind." "They are not strangers," Elena said. "They are mine." The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Then, incredibly, he bowed his head. "I am Admiral Keth Vereen of the Velith Compact," he said, "and I apologize for my hostility. We did not know what we would find here. We did not expect this. What happens now?" Elena asked. The Admiral straightened. "Now we talk. About you. About them. About what comes next." He looked at Mirren and the other children. "But I promise you, on my honor as a soldier, no harm will come to your mother commander. Not from us. Not today." Prill peeked out from behind Elena's leg. "He is telling the truth," the little one whispered. "I can hear his heart. He means it." Elena nodded slowly. Her muscles relaxed for the first time since the ships appeared. "All right," she said. "Let's talk." The galaxy had just discovered humanity, and nothing would ever be the same. The news spread across the galaxy like fire. A new species had been discovered. They called themselves humans. They came from a world beyond known space, a death world filled with predators and poison and natural disasters. They should not have survived their own planet. But they did. They conquered it. And now one of them had been found on a forgotten moon, protecting alien children with a ferocity that terrified even the Velith warriors. The story of Elena Vasquez and her nursery became legend within weeks. Every news outlet wanted to tell it. How she crashed alone and injured. How she found the abandoned children. How she fought monsters for 9 hours. How she stood against armed soldiers and refused to surrender her young. Scientists came to study her. Diplomats came to speak with her. Military leaders came to assess her threat level. Everyone wanted to understand what humans were. Elena answered their questions as honestly as she could. She explained about Earth, with its oceans and forests and deserts. She explained about human history, full of war and cruelty, but also love and sacrifice. She explained about evolution, how her species had been shaped by millions of years of survival. The Velith listened with growing amazement. Humans were predators, yes, But they were also something else. They formed attachments. Deep, unbreakable attachments. They would protect their chosen family with everything they had, regardless of species, regardless of logic, regardless of personal cost. Pack bonding, the scientists called it. They adopt anything, everything. If a human decides you belong to them, they will fight the universe to keep you safe. Admiral Varen watched Elena with her children and slowly understood. When she taught them human songs, she was not conquering. When she held them through nightmares, she was not hunting. When she stood against his soldiers, she was not being aggressive. She was being a mother. 3 months after the rescue, the Velith Compact offered Elena full citizenship. They gave her honors and medals. They called her a hero of their people. They promised her anything she wanted. Return to your world, the diplomats suggested. Tell your people about us. Be an ambassador. You could change the fate of 2 civilizations. At the same time, the newly formed Earth Coalition found her. Her distress beacon had eventually reached human space, and now ships from her own kind arrived. They offered her something different. A command of her own. A ship full of crew. A chance to explore the galaxy as a representative of humanity. Come home, they said. You have been alone for too long. We can give you back your life. Your career. Your future. Elena listened to both offers carefully. She considered them for many days. But in the end, her answer was simple. No, she said. I am not leaving. The diplomats from both sides were confused. You can have anything, they protested. Fame, power, adventure. Why would you stay on this empty moon? Elena smiled her closed-mouth smile. Because I made a promise. The children needed stability. They needed a home that did not change. They needed a mother who would not leave. After everything they had been through, after years of abandonment and fear, they deserved someone who stayed. So Elena stayed. The moon was named Vasquez's Hope. It became a real colony, built from the ground up. Velith families relocated there to be near their recovered children. Human specialists came to help build infrastructure. A school was created. A hospital. Homes for all the children who had once slept in a broken ship. Elena watched her world transform. The clearing where she had faced the Admiral became a park. The crashed ships were turned into a museum. The forest she had explored became protected land, its glowing spires now famous across the galaxy. But she did not care about fame. She cared about the children. She watched Pearl grow from a tiny, frightened kid into a confident young boy who told everyone about his terrifying, wonderful human mother. She watched Kessa, once silent and scared, become an artist whose drawings hung in galleries on 3 worlds. She watched Tan overcome his fears and become a rescue worker who saved others. The way Elena had saved them. She watched them all grow. All 43 of them. And she was there for every moment. On the first anniversary of her crash, Mirren found Elena on the ridge overlooking the bioluminescent forest. The girl was almost grown now, preparing to study xenodiplomacy at the finest academy in Velaspace. But tonight she was just a daughter, sitting with her mother, watching the stars. Do you ever regret it? Mirren asked. You could have been a commander of ships, a leader of fleets. Instead, you are a commander of nurseries. Elena laughed softly. Ships do not giggle. Ships do not bring me drawings of scary alien battles where I am 10 feet tall and breathing fire. Ships do not curl up in my lap and fall asleep purring. Mirren made a sound of amusement. Prill still does that. He is much too big now. He crushes your legs. I do not mind. They sat in comfortable silence. The gas giant rose on the horizon, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. The forest hummed its strange music below. Mother Commander, Mirren said quietly. Yes? Mirren pressed against Elena's side. It was a kid's gesture of trust and love, something Velith children did with their parents. But Mirren was nearly adult now. She did not need to do this anymore. She did it anyway. "Frightening human," she said, the old joke warm between them. "I adore your face. Promise you will not abandon my nursery." Elena wrapped an arm around her daughter. Not her adopted daughter. Not her alien daughter. Just her daughter. "Never," she promised. "Not for anything in the universe." Mirren purred. Elena tried to make the sound back, the wrong but right human purr she had learned over months of practice. Mirren laughed. "Still terrible," Mirren said. "Still trying," Elena replied. They stayed on the ridge until the stars filled the sky. Below them, in the colony that had grown from wreckage and love, the other children were living their lives. Going to school. Making friends. Building Futures. 40-3, Velith, who had been abandoned by the galaxy. One human who refused to let them stay lost. They were a family made of two worlds. Impossible and strange and beautiful dot, and high above them, the universe kept turning. Other humans were exploring now, spreading out into the galaxy, making first contact with dozens of species. Everywhere they went, the story of Vasquez's hope followed them. The galaxy learned what humans truly were. Not just predators. Not just survivors. They were protectors, pack bonders, chosen, family makers. They were frightening and wonderful and absolutely, stubbornly, impossibly loyal. And if you were lucky enough to be loved by a human, that love would never let you go. Elena looked up at the stars and thought about everything that had brought her here. The crash, the fear, the pain, the 9 hours of fighting, the slow, beautiful process of becoming a mother. "Worth it," she whispered to no one. Mirren's ear twitched. "What?" "Nothing. Just grateful." Mirren smiled. "Me too, Mother Commander." "Me too." They walked back to the colony together, the human and her Velith daughter. Under a sky full of possibilities. Love, they had both learned, was not about what you were. It was about what you chose. And they chose each other. Forever.